Is breaking tonight, Prince Andrew is giving up all of his titles, including the Duke of York. It follows a string of scandals surrounding his relationship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and his relationship with an alleged Chinese spy. But, of course, he will remain a prince, as this remains his birthright.
It's official. The Duchess of York is no more. Sarah Ferguson, once proudly known as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of York, has now lost the last formal tie that kept her tethered to royal life. Following Prince Andrew's decision to relinquish his titles, honours and official duties, Fergie's own status collapses alongside his. The title that defined her for nearly 4 decades has vanished overnight, and with that, the House of York, once the glittering branch of the royal family, stands effectively dismantled. But how did it come to this? Why now? And what happens next for Sarah Ferguson, Prince Andrew, and their daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie? This is the story of how the Duchess of York became the former Duchess of York. It's the story of scandal, silence, and consequence. And perhaps most of all, it's the final chapter in the long, complicated downfall of the Yorks.
Well, friends of Sarah, the Duchess of York, have come to her defence as pressure mounts for her to be stripped of her royal title.
It's a whole big deal. Let's get some more. Here's our entertainment editor, Peter Ford. Pete, this is all to do with Fergie's former friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, of course.
Yeah, and the resurfaced email grovelling and apologising to whom that she sent.
The news broke like a thunderclap across Britain. In a brief and tightly worded statement from Buckingham Palace, officials confirmed that Prince Andrew would be giving up all his remaining royal titles and honours, including his most defining one, Duke of York. No lengthy explanation, no interviews, just a few lines that effectively ended his public role within the monarchy forever. And in that instant, a domino fell. Because when the Duke of York disappears from the royal landscape, so too does the Duchess. For decades, Sarah Ferguson managed to cling to the title Duchess of York, despite her 1996 divorce from Andrew. She wasn't Her Royal Highness anymore. That part had been taken by the Queen's order. But she remained Sarah, Duchess of York. It was symbolic, perhaps even sentimental, but it was also her brand, her identity, and her connection to royal respectability. Yet when the foundation crumbles, the courtesy collapses with it.
7 charities have within 24 hours cut ties with the Duchess of York after that email sent to convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein surfaced from 2011 in the Sunday papers. It was the email where Fergie called him her supreme friend and basically grovelled to him for publicly criticising him.
By relinquishing the ducal title, Andrew didn't just walk away from his own identity, he effectively erased Sarah's too. Sources close to the palace confirmed that with Andrew's decision, Fergie can no longer use the title Duchess of York in any official or public capacity. After nearly 40 years, she's once again simply Sarah Ferguson. To understand why Fergie lost her title, we need to go back to the rules of royal peerage and courtesy titles. When Sarah Ferguson married Prince Andrew in 1986, she became Her Royal Highness the Duchess of York. The title was granted to Andrew personally by Queen Elizabeth II on his wedding day. At that time, it was a title that symbolised fresh beginnings. The young prince and his bride were seen as the modern, spirited faces of the monarchy. But when their marriage crumbled under the weight of scandals, affairs and relentless tabloid pressure, Sarah's position weakened. After their 1996 divorce, the Queen issued new letters patent, confirming that former wives of princes would lose their style of Her Royal Highness. However, Sarah was permitted to continue using the title Duchess of York as a courtesy, with her first name added, Sarah, Duchess of York, the same format used by divorced peeresses. It wasn't a legal right.
Sarah Ferguson and that contribution to her debts by the deceased paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. As reported in the Mail, what we discover...
It wasn't her own title, it was a borrowed one, tied to Andrew's continued possession of his dukedom. The moment that title disappears, so does the courtesy. And that's exactly what's happened now. By giving up the Duke of York title, Andrew has severed the thread that connected Sarah to the royal structure. In the eyes of royal protocol, she's no longer the Duchess of York, not even by courtesy. It's an erasure by technicality, but also by intention. Make no mistake, this wasn't a random or voluntary act of humility. The palace's move to strip or retire Andrew's titles is the culmination of years of damage control. Behind closed doors, It said the king has long been frustrated by the lingering stain of Andrew's scandals, from his association with the disgraced financier to the disastrous BBC interview to the civil lawsuit that ended in a settlement. Each episode chipped away at the credibility of the crown, leaving the monarch little choice but to distance himself. The palace's handling of this was deliberate, even surgical.
The Duke's ex-wife, Sarah, Duchess of York, will also lose her title and will be known as Sarah Ferguson. And tonight, Prince Andrew issued the following statement. He said, "In discussion with the King, who is of course his brother, and my immediate and wider family, we have concluded the continued accusations about me distracts from the work."
Prince Andrew will relinquish his titles and honours. Sounds polite, but in royal code it translates to, you no longer have permission to represent or identify yourself with the monarchy. And when that happens, everything downstream vanishes, including courtesy titles extended to former spouses. To understand why Fergie lost her title, we need to go back to the rules of royal peerage and courtesy titles. Many have been demanding Sarah Ferguson lose her title for years, but if there's one thing she has proven over the years, it's her ability to survive scandal. This isn't her first fall from grace, far from it. The tabloids of the 1990s made her one of Britain's most infamous figures. From the toe-sucking photos on holiday to reports of financial mismanagement, lavish spending and inappropriate endorsements.
Your favourite duo, the King's nieces, Beatrice and Eugenie, were on the cover of a magazine this week and they were described as the royal family's secret weapons. Did you write that headline?
I have to say, it's a bit of a journalistic cliche. I think secret weapons that we may have to stop.
There's no such thing.
we may have to stop using because pretty much everyone.
At one point, she was said to have accumulated millions in debt while still living within the orbit of the royal family. She was branded Fergie the freeloader, ridiculed as reckless and undignified, and even temporarily banished from royal events. And yet she kept coming back. Through charity work, children's books, media appearances, and her enduring connection to Andrew, she rebuilt herself as the lovable royal outsider, a woman who'd made mistakes but never lost her spirit. Over time, public sentiment softened. She became Fergie again, relatable, flawed, human. The Duchess who had fallen from grace but never fully disappeared. That comeback was built largely on her identity as the Duchess of York. It was the title that gave her recognition, that opened doors in publishing and media, that made her voice relevant in royal commentary. Without it, she stripped of her royal identity, both legally and symbolically. The implications go far beyond Fergie herself. This effectively marks the end of the House of York as an active royal branch. When Queen Elizabeth II bestowed the title on Andrew in 1986, it revived an old and storied title with deep royal roots. The House of York once produced kings, Edward IV and Richard III among them. It was a name heavy with history, once synonymous with power and lineage, but now it's a name shrouded in scandal. Prince Andrew stripped of his role, Sarah Ferguson stripped of her title, and the York daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, quietly receding from royal life. Neither Beatrice nor Eugenie are working royals, and both have pursued private careers and family life away from the palace. While they retain their princess titles, the downfall of their parents casts a long shadow. So what happens to Sarah Ferguson now? Publicly, she's kept her usual poise, releasing no direct statement about the title loss, but those close to her say she's sad but unsurprised. Privately, she's been preparing for this moment for years. Even without official royal backing, Fergie has remained active as an author, public speaker, and charity advocate.
This is why one of the reasons the Queen loved you so much and you were so special to her. What did she mean to you?
Oh, you know, she just, I think I was just myself with her. And I was allowed to be myself with her, which is such a joy.
She's built her own income streams and maintained a loyal audience, especially in the United States, where her candid, emotional style resonates. In recent years, she's also cultivated a softer, more reflective image. She's spoken openly about forgiveness, family, and self-acceptance. She's survived breast cancer, endured financial scrutiny, and weathered more scandals than most people could count. Losing her title may be humiliating, but will it destroy her? Some analysts believe it could free her, allowing her to finally step into her own identity, away from the baggage of royal expectations. But make no mistake, this is a profound personal loss. For a woman who has spent almost 40 years as the Duchess of York, being told that title no longer exists is like losing part of herself. It's a quiet dethroning, one that ends not with a public ceremony, but with a change in the letterhead, a removal from official documents, and a shift in how the palace refers to her. The public response has been split. Some see this as long overdue, the final act of accountability in a saga that has dragged down the monarchy for years. She's been through scandal after scandal, and some say, enough is enough. Others view it as unnecessarily harsh, especially towards Sarah, who many feel has paid her dues and endured enough public humiliation already. Throughout Andrew's darkest days, she never abandoned him. She called him a good man, defended his character, and insisted on his innocence when few others would. But why? What were her motives? A woman chasing a cheque? Or is there more to it? They still live together at Royal Lodge, even as the property itself faces uncertainty under the King's new financial restructuring plan. Some reports suggest that Andrew and Fergie may be Behind the scenes, the palace is making calculated moves. By quietly stripping Andrew of his titles, the king sends a message about modern accountability, that no one, not even a prince, is above consequence. But by allowing this to unfold quietly, without public humiliation, he also preserves a degree of compassion. Still, there's strategy here. Removing the Yorks from the official structure clears the stage for the Waleses, Prince William, Princess Catherine, and their children, to take full focus.
After she said, "I'll never have anything to do with that man again. I'm so ashamed of myself." Now, the scenario that's being put forward is that he being Epstein, was going to sue Fergie, and she was trying to avoid that. So she claims on advice that she was given, that's why she wrote that grovelling letter.
The monarchy is being reshaped, streamlined and rebranded. In that vision, there's no room for scandal or confusion. The Yorks are relics of a past era, colourful, controversial and inconvenient. So where does this leave them? For Sarah Ferguson, the path forward is one of quiet reinvention. She'll likely continue writing, speaking, and perhaps even hosting once the dust settles from her latest email scandal, but without the royal prefix that once gave her credibility. For Andrew, the future looks bleak. He's unlikely to return to public life. Even within the family, he's become an awkward figure, tolerated but not embraced. As for Beatrice and Eugenie, they'll likely continue carving out private lives. Both have young families and seem content away from the glare of royal duty. But one thing's for certain, the Yorks' influence within the monarchy is gone. The titles, the grace, the illusion of royal belonging, all erased. In royal culture, titles aren't just words. They're symbols of status, hierarchy, and belonging. When Fergie became the Duchess of York, it was a fairy tale moment. A commoner from a wealthy but scandal-prone family marrying a prince, stepping into royal life with confidence and charm. She represented fun, freshness, and freedom at a time when the monarchy was rigid and cold. But over time, the title became both her shield and her shackle. It gave her legitimacy, but also tied her to a man whose reputation would later collapse. Now, as that title is stripped away, the symbolism is hard to ignore. The woman once called the Duchess of York stands on her own for the first time since 1986. No palace protection, no royal privileges, just Sarah Ferguson, a woman who has lived a lifetime in the public eye and who must now navigate her next chapter without the crown's shadow. And so, the York story comes to a close. From the fairy tale wedding at Westminster Abbey to the scandals that shook the tabloids, from the lavish spending to the financial desperation, from royal glamour to quiet disgrace. It's been a saga of highs and lows unmatched in modern royal history. The final act, a silent, administrative removal of a title that once meant everything. It's not the dramatic exile of a bygone age. It's quieter, more bureaucratic, more final. No fanfare, no farewell, just erasure. And that, perhaps, is the cruelest part. The slow, quiet dismantling of a family that once believed it could weather any storm. Fergie may no longer be the Duchess of York, but she remains unforgettable, to say the least. Even stripped of her title, she remains part of the royal story. For the palace, this is closure. For the Yorks, it's exile. And for Sarah Ferguson, it's possibly newfound freedom tinged with loss.